Hello and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Bill Hirschman, I'm the critic for Florida Theater on Stage, and I'm your host today. Before we introduce our guests, let's meet our panel. Iris Acker, who is an actress, writer, and our producer of this program. Michael McKeever, our esteemed playwright, actor, scenic designer, and just about everything else involved with theater. And Karen Stevens, award-winning actress and writer. Our guest today is none other than Jodi Dellaventura, who is a prop master, scenic designer, and would you believe, a wrestler. Welcome, Jodi.
Hi.
We have never had a wrestler on the show.
Nice. Awesome.
Or a prop master.
Or a prop master.
all
This
right.
is you're breaking new ground for all of us.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
A lot of civilians open up their playbill and they see prop master or prop mistress, and they haven't a clue what that entails. Would you give us some general idea what it is that you do?
Okay. So props is everything that's handled on stage by actors. Everything that they touch, and it's a lot. Each play is different. It's a lot of research that's involved, and every time period and stuff that you're looking up. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to hunt and gather.
Hunt and gather.
Hunt and gather. Yeah. Whether it's shopping around, borrowing. Going, I go all over the place, to look for certain and specific things that that each play requires. But I enjoy it so much. I love what I do, and
How much time do you get to do this? In other words, does somebody come to you early? The director come to you? I'm doing this play. We're going to need props.
Yes.
Do you have to wait for the scenic design to be finished?
No. Usually, sometimes I would either read the play myself and gather a prop list, or sometimes I would be given a prop list where I haven't read the play yet, which is fine too. But me, I like to read the play. I like to know what the scenes are, what the business is, what the props that they're going to be using. Some plays are more than others, but I like to. Either way, for me, is fine. Either if I read the play or if
Do you ever
someone
make
has
any of your own props? Actually make them?
Yeah, certain plays require certain things. There was when I was in school, I did A Midsummer Night's Dream, and so the mask, for the ass head that I had to make was one of kind of like my first kind of projects to do. Chicken wire and covering it and painting it, and I was very happy, with the outcome of it. But that was something that I just drew up, made from scratch. The director gave me okay, this is what I'm going for, and then I showed them some drawings, and I did a little sample of stuff, that I thought would work. They loved it, and it came out really good. Yeah.
Well, walk us through a process. Take a show that you've done in the last year or so that you're particularly proud of, and take us from the moment somebody said, we want you to do this show, all the way up to opening night.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy. Like any show? Pick...
Did you do props and the set for the Nether? Because I love that set.
Thank you so much.
And you did the set in the Nether. It was so magnificent.
Thank you very much. No, actually, the Nether was, I designed it, I built it, and I teched it. So I did a lot of things for it. Props I didn't do. I helped with some of the furniture, but it was a big challenge for me. That show really, and I was really happy, that John Rodas gave me the opportunity. But I was happy in the end, but that show hurt my head. It was a lot. It was a lot. It used a lot of. It was. Yeah.
What
it
should
was a lot.
describe
company
it?
was that?
Area Stage Company, yeah, with John Rodas.
You should describe that set, what it looked like to people, because why it was so difficult.
Okay. So the scene changes, I read the play, and the scene changes were very short, and you had to go from one world to another world in seconds. And the two worlds are so completely different, and I was like, how do you do that? When you write a play and you read it, they playwrights, they write a play.
So they think about it.
And then you're not thinking okay, well, how does that even happen? Is that even, something that is possible? And then, as scenic designers, we, come up with ways to, make things, look a certain way. But then you have to figure out, okay, well, how do you do it? And then you have to, tech it. And there's so many things, for that show especially. But I had a lot of, sliding doors, that opened and closed to reveal the, the Nether, this virtual world, where anybody can do, whatever they wanted and didn't get, consequence for doing things. And just from the beginning, I didn't know, like I didn't even know where to go or where to start, and we had many meetings. Me and John just sat, and we had many meetings, and then finally it just clicked, and we in like our last meeting, we're like, no, that's it, like that's it, and I said, I think we should do this and do this, and then we collaborated on it. But it was in the end, I was very happy with it, how everything worked. All the sliding doors and all the virtual.
Exactly. Yeah.
We should explain what it was. The half of the show takes place in an interrogation chamber,
Yep.
which is dull and gray and depressing. But the other half of it takes place in a virtual holodeck kind of world, which is green and sylvan and Victorian. And you had to switch back and forth and back and forth instantly.
And that was the sliding doors.
That was the sliding doors. And then before we went to the girls' bedroom, we had sliding windows to differentiate between the foyer and the bedroom. So that was another scenic element that came on and off when we slid the windows on and off.
So Jodi, here's a question, because I've seen your set designs. They're wonderful.
Thank you.
Does being a prop master help inform you as a set designer, and does being a set designer help inform you as being a prop master? Does those two jobs help you with the other job?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely. And a lot of stuff for me, like it is in anything, is research. You're constantly looking up things of what things look like. And for me, if you give me a picture of something and I'll make it. I'll go to Home Depot and walk up and down the aisles and just like, all right, I can use that, and then I'll make, and I'll make it. And that's just how, or anything. But yes, I think for sure that being able to do both of those, and I have a very technical brain too, so it's hard for me sometimes when I'm designing something or making something. It's like, that's not going to work. Like, you can't do that. And like, you just know it.
Which makes you so much different from a designer like me. It's like, here's a pretty picture, make it work.
So, like, my brain, it's so hard to turn that on and off, and I'm trying to get better at it, because sometimes I like to hand over design and not have to figure out like how to do things. And sometimes I do that, but
no, that's a good thing as a designer. It's a really good thing to have that insight to know that simply can't be built.
Right.
Well, you've designed a few shows that I've done, and
Yes.
I've always wondered, because I know that, did you segue into props, or has that always been a part of your...
Oh, like for where I started? Okay, so when I was in school, Landscape of the Body was the first show I did at Broward College. And I was like, oh, okay, this seems fun, and I was working with another student on it, and I made a couple of little things, and then the next show, Good Person at Szechuan.
Well, wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
As a set designer, or
No,
as a prop
props.
designer?
All in school, I did props.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So sorry. So I was doing props in school, and then I kind of grew a liking to it, and I took stagecraft. Michael Williams, my professor, that is why I'm in theater today. I love that man, and he taught me everything that I have started to learn in theater. And I just grew a liking to it, and I was like, this is fun, and I liked it. And then I started doing all the shows at school. And so outside of that, and being in school with him, he taught me some set design work. Not that I took a set design class, but he taught me some stuff about set design. And I loved it. And then outside of that, I started doing stuff in the community, and I did children's theater up at Coral Springs Center for the Performing Arts, and I did a lot of prop work there. But in turn, after that, I was hired to do set. So then I started doing set designs, for the kids at Next Stop Broadway summer camp, and I enjoyed working like that. And I was like, this is what I love to do. And so I went to school at University of Miami. And April Sirocco was my set design teacher, and I learned very much, from her. And I have been doing, sets, since. I've been doing sets since I, left school, but I just really enjoyed the designing. But I love props. Props is a big thing for me too, and in turn, I do both of them, and I love it. I really do.
Defining props, because you mentioned furniture as well, but that's more separate. If you define props, it's anything that the actor actually holds or touches.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
how it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a line. There's a line there, with furniture.
Yeah.
And stuff. And sometimes if it's set forth in the beginning, say, look, I'm hiring you to do props, set dressing, furniture. Okay, sure. Then that's more money. But I do like doing all of it. But There is, it depends, I don't know, it depends sometimes, with the furniture / props / set dressing. And, and I do a lot of set dressing too. Right now I work at Actors Playhouse and I do the props and set dressing for, their shows. And, when I enjoy doing, all of that. And, the furniture it's a whole nother, it's a whole nother story, sometimes. Sometimes it could be minimal and then sometimes it could be more, especially when you're doing period pieces. And if I'm hired as a show to do props, usually like beforehand we work out, okay, we need you to help with furniture, I don't like, like anybody being thrown into something that, okay, here, we need you to find this and we need you to find that. But really I haven't really been thrown in a situation, like that. But I always, talk about things of what my job is. What is it that you're hiring me to do? And I've just been doing that since, doing theater. And
So you coordinate with the set designer?
Yes, for anything furniture related.
For anything furniture or set dressing?
Or set dressing, absolutely.
I've noticed your set
Absolutely.
dressing in particular at Actors Playhouse where there will be a poster or something that very much sets the scene. But I go, that's not the set designer, that's the set dresser.
So they give me bare walls and I go in there and I put stuff all over it, hang stuff up. Murder Ballad, I did all the set dressing for that and I turned it into, the bar and everything, I hung some lights and just all the posters and pictures all over the wall. Toxic Avenger, I did that too. And even though it was a bunch of garbage, it's still, you know what I mean? It's still,
How does talk about how you coordinate that with the set designer? I mean, does he just say, okay, here's the canvas now covered, or do you?
It depends on what show it was. Toxic Avenger, I co-designed with Gene Schaefer, and I did the props and set dressing for it too. So that was a little different. But I did West Side Story. I just did West Side Story at Actors Playhouse with Tim. And basically we went over things, research. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. I want to, do docs, and this is the, the images and things that I would like to see in there. And then I go ahead and go do my research and go find all different, things. And then I show them, I say, look, this is what I'm finding out there. This is what we can borrow. And, I do a whole, whole list of stuff. And then we go over it. He says, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then I come up with my, thing. So when it's my turn to go in there and dress all the walls, then I go and, I sort of collage it and, put it composition-wise on anything that I'm going to dress.
But it's crucial.
I'm so curious. Are the guns authentic? West Side Story was a knife.
Yes.
And of course, the police had the gun.
Yeah.
How authentic is it? Where do you get that from?
The gun was a rental. It was a prop, theatrical firearm, which is closed barrel. But it is it's not a real firearm, but it is heavy. It's the weight of like one would be. The switchblades they used was a real switchblade for one of the scenes, and then the other ones were. The retractable ones, they were, like toy ones, and, we weren't going to use real, retractable knives, which we could have, but,
But then you need more actors.
Sure, yeah, exactly, right. And then, like, you're losing people, left and right, and then there's, like, nobody else to do the scene.
Is there a go-to site for things like that?
For weapons?
Yes.
Or any hard to find, like things that you can't ordinarily buy in a store, per se?
Well, sometimes theatrical firearms, yes, there's plenty of places out there that, we look for things. There's a lot of prop houses, that I go to locally around here. And then outside of that, like really, if it's something that I can't find, I'll make it. If you give me a picture of something, I'll figure it out and I'll make it. I need some time, but I can make it happen. But see, every show is different, and every show requires something else, and it depends. It all depends on it all depends on what it is. But there's a lot of things.
They heard Bill's introduction. He said, "And she's a wrestler."
Yes.
I've known you forever. I've known you so long. I never knew you were a wrestler.
I did that. That was my life before theater. I did wrestling.
Let's talk.
All right.
And you said wrestling is entertainment.
It is entertainment. It's performance. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a live performance. It's different. You're physically abusing your body on purpose. On stage for the amusement of others. I know. And me, I know, and I love it. I would constantly get hit on the head with stuff. I go through tables, and I would always fall on my back. But it was all for entertaining
There's
people.
a joke there somewhere.
But the audience is just so different, in wrestling. They're just, crazy people. But and it was a big part of my life, that I did, and I miss it. I miss it so much.
How did you get involved? What introduced you to wrestling?
In wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay. So my ex-boyfriend, who I was with for many years, used to do that. And so I was like, oh, they were trying to get me involved in wrestling for so long. And I'm like, no, I'm not into it. It's not like my thing. And so he said, look, just do one little thing. Just one little thing. Just go in the ring and just throw the towel in and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do it. And that was it. I did that one little thing. I stepped into the ring. I threw the towel in, and I was just, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And just like the reaction from the response of the audience and stuff, and the people were just like really into it. And I'm like, you know what? All right, what can I do next? The next show, I'm getting hit on the head with a garbage can, and I'm getting piled drive through a table and DDT through a table. And it was just like, a big part of my life, and I miss it, and I love it. Not that I have done it recently. I've kind of been out of the scene for a little while now.
Well, you're one of the hardest working people in South Florida theater. You never stop. But here's a question: given the opportunity, would you get back in the ring?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I would. Maybe like manage somebody, or I used to manage and valet, walk people out to the ring, and cheer them on. But. I don't know. I would have to think about it. But after I know my company had folded, but I went back. I found theater, and I went to school with my brothers, actually, Mark and Joseph. We both did theater all together at Broward College, and we all took classes together, and it was fun to go to school with my brothers, And after that, I stayed in theater. I stayed in school. I went to more school, and now this is kind of what I do now.
You mentioned falling into tables and then breaking away. Some actors are famous for breaking props that you've spent a long time making. Can you talk a little bit about some times where you've worked hard on a prop and it doesn't seem to last the run of the show?
Yeah, let me think. I don't know if I remember All New People. I had to make this piece of artwork, and but that purposely had to break, and so that was even a challenge in itself. Is trying to make something, fall apart, but then have to be put back together. I had this artwork with all these beads and rope and string.
If I may, this is for production at Zoetic Stage, where there was this avant-garde stand-up sculpture that was all these ropes with beads all over it, and during the performance, and there were 15, 20 performances, every performance, an actor had to just touch it, and the entire thing fell apart.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and it was one of the challenges of the show.
That was a challenge, but that was something that had to get put together every night, and so it was a little rig that I made up. All the beads fell off the floor. It did what it needed to do. But then again, that was, little beads all over the stage, making sure that people don't really trip and fall and hurt themselves for real. But that was something that, the ASM would, put it back together, every night. But recently I worked on Passion, and so I found out a day later that a pool stick broke that I made, and a pool stick. I mean, I don't know what they did. I wasn't there at the show. I didn't see it, but they did.
I was there.
Somehow it broke. So I found out. I saw on the report, and I said, okay, well, I guess I'll just go make you, another one. And actually, the pool sticks, I bought them. And then I altered them to make them look old. Today you buy pool sticks and they're just, they look very different than, what they did. We're doing 1863, And so I just, I took it apart, I sanded it, painted it, made it look, a little antique-y. And there you go. Then I made another pool stick for them.
I just want to give you a compliment because I've been in shows that you worked on, and the one thing that I have observed about you is that if there is something that needs to be solved, you will not stop until you find the solution.
Thank you.
You are so tenacious about it, and I've walked past you, working, and it's like you could see the bubble on your head.
Yes.
And I just think that's really admirable.
Thank you very much. I think I'm a good problem solver, and I think that's one of my, stronger skills.
You're a great problem solver.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Here's a question. Other than fixing them, once this show goes up, once this show has its opening night and is now in its run, how involved do you stay? Are you done once the show?
It depends. Sometimes, shows that have food, Basically,
right, food.
Yeah, food props. I hate it. I don't really hate it, but it's another thing that you need to tackle because you're dealing with something else. But with food anyway, for a show, I would prep them for the first opening weekend and have everything set ready to go for opening weekend, and then there would be a running list, of a shopping list that either stage management, somebody else would be in charge of, and getting the rest of it for the rest of the run. Like I set them all up because in tech you don't know, some things work, some things don't. I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat this, and I'm like, all right, just tell me what you want, and I'll go get it, okay? And then that's that's for like food stuff, but it depends. It depends with the show and what the props require. Some shows it's kind of like, okay, I'm done and it's good. Like if there's something major that I see in a rehearsal report where they say, look, Jodi, we need you to come and look at this, or we need you to come and fix that. Sure, I'll go down to the theater or whatever. For the most part, a lot of things is like the show opens and I'm kind of I wait to strike and then I go there for strike and take everything away. But it depends. It depends on certain things that I would be available to go
There's
and
no
fix.
school for prop.
No,
There's no classes.
I was going to say there's no masters in prop,
Yeah.
prop design.
Set design, yes,
Set design,
but not
Sure.
props.
What happens to the props after the show closes? Is there a place where they're stored? Does each theater have their own storage space, or how does that work?
Some places have storage, and that I would just pack things up and bring it to their storage. But then a lot of places don't have storage, and either stuff will get donated, or some people will keep certain items, or a lot of time sometimes unfortunately things get thrown out, and it's just part of it. And sometimes I ask, look, I like that. Can I have that? For myself, or somebody might ask, maybe in the cast or in something, and then usually I'll work it out, with the director or the company and say like, look, is this okay? And yes or no. And that happens sometimes, but it's a lot, a lot of people don't have storage.
I'll bet your apartment really is an interesting place.
No. And I just recently bought a house, so I bought a house recently, and no, I don't. I have a garage, but I use it for like my scene shop, and I build stuff.
You don't take your work home with you.
No, I know.
Are there any specific props that you've taken home that you really are very special to you, that you treat as artwork, or
that I've kept?
Yeah.
I've kept some furniture pieces. You know what I still have? In Assassins, I still have that chicken bucket that I made it move. That little
was
chicken bucket,
so
the chicken
cool.
bucket when they shot at the chicken bucket and then it moved. That's
What show
right.
was that?
That was Assassins.
In Assassins,
In Assassins.
Jodi
In
created
Assassins.
Yeah.
because the guns that they shot with were they weren't even blanks. They were just it was a sound effect at that point. I think it was a
Actually,
sound
it
effect.
might have been a sound effect. I
But
don't remember.
They put a Kentucky Fried
A
Chicken
chicken, yeah.
bucket and they would shoot it and the bucket would
Move,
dance.
and it
would
would-
move.
and it would jump.
She made it
Yeah.
work.
How did you do that?
And I just remembered that. And then Stuart says, I want it to move. I'm like, what do you mean you want it to move? It's a bucket. Like it's right there. There's nothing that I can possibly do, to that. He goes, no, but I know you can figure it out. You can do anything. And I'm like, great. So now I have this challenge here of making this bucket like bounce and move. But so I went to KFC. I took a bucket and I covered it with an old logo. And so inside of it, I took apart a remote controlled car. And so I took the shell out, and I took the shell out, and I put inside the mechanism, like the wheels, of just so that it would fit in the bucket. And I attached it to a piece of plywood that was underneath the bucket. So I sort of drilled a hole and screwed it to it. So and then somebody off stage would use the remote control, right? So when you use a car, right? You go forward, reverse, or backwards, whatever. And so they were off stage and they were doing that, and then sure enough, the thing moved.
It was
And
brilliant. It worked every night. It was brilliant.
And
It really was.
I forgot about that, but that when I still
That's
have the
crazy.
bucket, and that was something fun. That was something fun, to make. And just for me, figuring out stuff, and I love figuring out how to do things. And he would give me a challenge. I love challenges, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna make that work. I'm going to make that
Well,
work.
before we go, I want to ask, if somebody wants to become a prop mistress or somebody is interested in scenic design, what advice would you give them if they go, God, that sounds terrific, I want to do what she does?
Well, scenic design for sure. Going to school. I went to Broward College and I studied theater there, and I learned props just from my teacher there and other students that did it before I did. But I was always into art, growing up, and I did a lot of painting and drawing. But like set design, not that I did any set design at Broward College, I wind up going to more school. And for me, I wasn't even thinking of going to school. And I applied to UM. I went to UM, and I got a BFA in set design from there. And so being at UM is where like I learned a lot of set design, stuff. But I had a good time, and I felt I learned a lot from being in school there. And it's a lot of time, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you got to put your heart into it. And I put my heart into theater, and
Can you apprentice?
It's what I love. It's what I love.
Can you apprentice at it? I mean, can you volunteer to work someplace?
I'm sure people will take all kinds of volunteers. If you just show up, hey, I'll work free labor. Oh, that's like the best for people. But probably, I'm sure. Like if you put yourself out there. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and people have to just work hard and put yourself out there, be professional, and it's just I have a passion for theater.
And one last, real quickly,
Yeah.
is there a prop that you've made that you are so proud of, and people may or may not appreciate, but they can't take that away from you?
Oh man,
something that you go, yeah, that's my masterpiece.
I don't know. I've done so many different things. I mean, like the art piece, for All New People was very challenging piece to do, and I mean, like the chicken bucket was something that was fun to figure out. The chicken bucket. No, but I don't
just
know.
leave it at the chicken bucket.
Yeah, the chicken bucket.
That's pretty
amazing.
The chicken bucket, yeah.
Well, we really appreciate your coming and telling us these stories we will never forget next time we see a chicken bucket.
Yeah.
Or a lady wrestler.
Yeah, sure.
We'll think of you.
With different color hair, so I would always dye my hair for wrestling.
We didn't even talk about
She may have a different colored hair.
Well, when I wrestled, every show I have a different color, so people would be like, oh, what's our hair color going to be, And so I kind of rolled it over into theater, but I like dyeing my hair.
So the next time you see a chicken bucket, you'll know who to thank. And we want to thank you for joining us here on Spotlight on the Arts. If you have any interest in knowing what's going on in theater, I say with all due modesty, come see FloridaTheaterOnStage.com, where we have a calendar of everything that's going on. We thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Spotlight on the Arts.